The Seiko MM300. I guess, are we still calling the MM300? I mean, it's basically an MM300. It just doesn't say it on the case. It doesn't say Marine Master on the case. It's the newer Prospex series. Still the monocoque case. Still the everything that we expect from that particular watch, right? On these current ones. I think this one came out in 21. This is actually the SLA047, retail price $3,200. This is a grail watch for a lot of Seiko fanboys. I know that for sure. I've heard it over the years. Just an iconic, great, heavy-duty diver. Saturation diver, because 300-meter water depth rating, right? Big thanks to the entire crew at Exquisite Timepieces, Naples, Florida. I'll put a link in the description down below. I'll put contact information. But yeah, reach out to Joe. That's who helped me out with this group of watches. But, you know, Nick, Tyler, Graham, any of those guys, if you can get a hold of them, you know, work on developing some sort of relationship with them, and you will be able to source some amazing watches. You can use their online feature. You can purchase right online. You can do this one brand new, $3,200. They even have a pre-owned section, which I know they have one of these for sure in their pre-owned section. So if $3,200 is way too steep for you, go check out their pre-owned. I think you might find the discount worth a look. So I'll put a link to that one also in the description. I'm not going to talk about the price because market can change that price. That's the only reason I'm not talking about the price on the pre-owned stuff. But let's get into this watch. 43.8 millimeter wide. They call it a 44. It measures at 43.8, so it's just under, but really close. A 50 lug to lug. So really those measurements aren't bad when it comes to a Seiko with like cushion cases and the way they look and feel on your wrist. The one thing that is going to play a role, no matter how good the watch case design is the thickness and the weight. And this thing has both. It is 15.4 millimeter thick, so it's on the thicker side, but it will balance out good. I promise you that. If you size the bracelet properly and you wear it on your wrist correctly, it will not try to rotate on you. It will stay planted. It will work on your wrist. I guarantee it. 20 millimeter lug width here. Bracelet tapers down to 18. And then you have kind of the old tried and true stamped clasp from Seiko, with the exception of you get the MM300 style, the more premium divers. You get this on-the-fly quick adjust where you just kind of push this back. It releases a little lever. Very simple design, and then it pulls out. But it won't go out anymore, but it will ratchet in like handcuffs, I've heard. I don't know that for sure, though. I think that's how handcuffs work. 120 click bezel on this. It does feel Seiko-like, but like a premium Seiko. Well, that's to be expected because that's what it is. The bezel insert is zirconia ceramic bezel insert. So really beautiful bezel insert. Nice action on the bezel. Lines up. Inside this is the movement 8L35, which is their more premium movement. It's actually kind of, you know, I don't want to say hand-me-downs, but it's a movement that was developed kind of from the Grand Seiko side of things, and then like a trickle down, I guess. You know, the Seiko watches were able to start using that, and you know, in the more premium line of the divers for sure is where you're going to most often see it. It does have the monocoque design case, so everything is assembled from the top down. Think about that, right? You can't remove the case back. You can't service it in that fashion. You have to disassemble it from the top side. So watchmakers know how to do it, and the Seiko Service Center knows how to do it. So not a problem there. Beautiful green dial on this. It's a nice, rich, almost enamel-looking dial, even though it isn't. And then you have that touch of gold, both on the seconds hand and the 300M printing down there, just above the 6 o'clock position. Beautiful brushed hands in the center with polished edges. Very legible, nice oversized indices filled with lume. You even have a date wheel over here at 3 o'clock. If I can move this minute hand, you'll see that it's kind of a silver tone. And I do notice that quite a bit on some of these more premium Seikos. It's not just a standard white date wheel. It's actually kind of silvery if you kind of look at it the best you can here, yeah. It's kind of silver looking with black printing. Nice, tasteful design. All right, let's pop this on my 7 1/4 inch wrist so you can see what that looks like. Of course, it is not sized, so I won't be able to demonstrate that. And personally, again, this is just personally, I am not a huge fan of this clasp. So if I were to get one of these, I would change out the clasp. But again, that's just a personal preference. I know there's people that actually use this clasp on other watches. So I would be able to, like if I were to pick one of these up, I'd be able to sell that clasp. And I would just put more standard clasp in there. Again, that's just my personal preference because it is a little thick, but it does balance out, so it's not that big of a deal. But you can see completely wearable. The biggest issue is, you know, are you going to be able to handle the thickness and the weight? But like I said, if you size it properly, it will balance out and you'll get used to that weight. Or maybe you already prefer that. You know, a lot of people equate a nice weighty watch with a luxury or a quality built watch. I think there's some truth to that, but you can, you know, some brands may add artificial weight. That's not the case here. This thing is heavy because it is a tank of a case. It is a very robust case, thick everywhere in the case in its dimensions, which is going to shield it from, you know, impacts or potential opportunities for magnetism and stuff. It will play a role in that. Let me give it a quick blast with the UV light. Let's kill the studio lights and check out the Lume on this. Tell the guys at Exquisite I sent you, please, if you reach out to them. So this is the other thing that you get with some of these newer model premium Seikos is you get a lumed bezel insert. Not the whole thing, but the important part for an actual dive watch, that first 15, 20 minutes. You know, it goes up to 20 minutes. So that's the really important part of a dive. That's why it's loomed out that way. Incredible lume on these two. A little bit more than the, I don't want to say normal divers, but you know, the 200-meter divers from Seiko. These have typically a little bit more lume than those. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next vid.